according to yogic tradition, there's a deep relationship between breath, mind, and speech. So both in yogic and Vedic traditions, these three are seen as parts of one system. When one becomes disturbed, one of these elements, breath, mind, speech, when one of these becomes disturbed, the others follow. When one becomes balanced, the others gradually align. So understanding this relationship helps explain why pausing to breathe before speaking can completely change the outcome of a conversation. Breath is unique because it operates in two domains. It is automatic, like the heartbeat. It is also voluntary, meaning we can consciously regulate it. Because of this, breath becomes a direct gateway to calming the nervous system. When we become emotionally activated, the breath changes immediately. It becomes faster, it is shorter, it is higher in the chest. This signals the brain that something is wrong, and the mind begins to search for threats or explanations. But when we slow the breath, the body sends the opposite signal. There is no danger. This quiets the stress response and stabilizes the nervous system. Therefore, balanced breath results in reduced emotional reactivity. So, in yogic philosophy, breath and mind move together. An old teaching says, when the breath is disturbed, the mind is disturbed. When the breath is steady, the mind becomes steady. When breath slows and deepens, the nervous system relaxes. Mental agitation decreases, emotional intensity softens, and attention becomes clearer. That is why meditation traditions often begin with breath awareness. By regulating breath first, the mind naturally follows. So the sequence, therefore, is balanced breath, balanced mind. What about speech? Speech does not originate in the mouth, it originates in the mind. If the mind is irritated, speech becomes sharp. If the mind is anxious, speech becomes defensive. If the mind is restless, speech becomes excessive. If the mind is calm, speech becomes measured. Words simply reveal the inner state. When the mind is balanced, speech tends to become slower, clearer, less reactive, and more thoughtful. Therefore, balanced mind results in balanced speech. When we pause for even one slow breath before speaking, something subtle happens. Breath slows, the nervous system relaxes, the mind regains clarity, speech becomes more deliberate. A reaction that might have escalated conflict can instead become a calm response. Often the difference between argument and understanding is just one breath. The breath regulates the body stabilizes the mind, and the mind shapes speech. So the sequence is balanced breath, balanced mind, balanced speech. When the breath is calm, the mind becomes clear. When the mind is clear, words carry wisdom rather than reactivity, reaction, etc. So here's a practical example. Imagine someone says something that feels critical. Without awareness, breath shortens, mind becomes defensive, speech becomes reactive. But if you pause and take one slow breath, the body relaxes, the mind observes rather than reacts. Speech becomes measured, and the same situation now leads to different outcomes. So in yogic understanding, breath carries prana. This is the deeper understanding, the life force. Mind rides on that current. When breath is chaotic, the mind becomes chaotic. When breath is steady, the mind becomes steady. And when the mind is steady, speech becomes conscious rather than impulsive. So, simple reminder, breathe first, think second, speak third. Okay, so when this order is followed, communication becomes clearer, relationships become calmer, and unnecessary conflict fades. Now, have I followed this principle all my life? No, and I wish I had. But, you learn. You learn from your mistakes, and then you move on. And this, what I shared with you, is yogic understanding, which has been very helpful to me. And I hope it will be helpful to you, because we've all said things carelessly, flippantly, and irresponsibly. And, we regret those moments, but we also learn from those moments. And this is actually a way where a mistake can become an opportunity for sacred speech. Sacred speech. Mantra for that?